Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to another another installment on this day with Christy. Howdy. Today is Friday, August 21st, 2026. This being Friday, we're going to recap what we talked about Monday and Wednesday and learn some new things along the way about today. So let's hop in our magic van, pop in some tunes, and go for a ride. We're going to start today on the 17th. 1959, Miles Davis released his masterpiece, Kind of Blue. It also featured So What, All Blues, and Blue and Green. In 1955, Elvis Presley released I Forgot to Remember to Forget. It also featured, it would be his very first number one topping the Billboard charts. His next would be Heartbreak Hotel. Final 2 days of Woodstock closed out with sets by Country Joe and the Fish, Paul Butterfield Blues Band, The Who, Jimi Hendrix, and Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. The 3-day fest hosted more than 40,000 attendees and featured 32 bands. In 1991, Nirvana released Smells Like Teen Spirit at the GMT Studios in Culver, California. It cost less than $50,000, which was cheap for some reason. The visual featured the band's real fans in the video. In 2012, three members of Pussy Riot were sentenced to 2 years in prison for staging a performance in protest of Vladimir Putin. In 2019, Tool's Fear Inoculum became the longest song ever, clocking in at 10:22 to break the Billboard Hot 100. FYI, it is not nearly the longest song. That song goes to Arlo Guthrie with Alice's Restaurant. So, take it for what you want. I saw it live, so I know how long that song is. Now, it's time to head over to facts. It was Thrift Shop Day and Black Cat Appreciation Day. I appreciated my black cat. I didn't go shopping, but hey, can't do everything. In 2017, Jonas Abubab drove a van into pedestrians on Lorem in Barcelona, Spain, killing 14 and injuring at least 30 others. The 22-year-old attacker killed another person in order to steal the car to escape. In 2008, American swimmer Michael Phelps became the first to place, winning 8 gold medals at one Olympic game. It just doesn't sound right. Anywho, in 1978, 3 Americans made the first successful Atlantic crossing by hot air balloon. In 1915, a tropical cyclone hurricane hit Galveston, Texas, killing 45 and $30 million in damage. In today's economy, it would be $1 trillion. That's crazy. In 682 AD, Pope Leo II became the Bishop of Rome. Now, our recap of Wednesday, the 19th. We began in 1972. David Bowie, booked as Ziggy Stardust, played a sold-out concert at London's Trable Theatre. In 1977, the Sex Pistols kicked off a 68-day undercover UK tour. They had to do shows under aliases to get the shows due to its rowdy reputation, and knew that they were either not going to be booked or the cops would come and break it in. Or shut it down. Break it in, shut it down. Either way. Anywho, in 2005, a life-sized bronze statue of Thin Lizzy frontman Phil Lynott was erected in his home city of Dublin, Ireland. Lastly, in 1988, Patsy Cline's Crazy and Elvis Presley's Hound Dog were the most played jukebox songs in the past 100 years. On to factoids. We celebrated Photography Day and Aviation Day. In 2023, Russian Lunar 25 lander mission crash-landed on the moon. In 2020, Apple became the first to be valued at $2 trillion. the year previously it was only 1 trillion. So it jumped $1 trillion in 1 year. In 2005, Russia and China began their first ever joint military exercises. In 1918, the musical Yip Yip Yap by Irving Berlin premiered in Century Theater in New York City. In 1897, the London electric cab began operating on London streets. Lastly, in 1692, 1 woman and 4 men were hanged for witchcraft in Salem, Massachusetts. That made 20 total. Now, we're ready for today's stuff. On this day in music, we start in 1961 when Patsy Cline actually recorded a cover of Willie Nelson's song, Crazy. I did not know that was an original by Willie Nelson. At the time of the shoot, she was recovering from a head-on collision, which had taken place 2 months earlier, and was struggling to reach some high notes due to broken ribs. Her version went on to become a massive hit, spending 21 weeks on the Billboard charts and becoming one of her first signature songs. I like her. In 1961, Tamla Records released the Marvelettes' debut, Please Mr. Postman. The single not only became the group's biggest hit, reaching the top spot on the Billboard pop and R&B charts and receiving gold certification from the RIAA in 2004, but it was Motown Records' first #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. In 1997, Oasis released their 3rd album, Be Here Now. Demanding. Anyway, it quickly became one of the fastest selling albums ever, moving over 350,000 units on release day and taking the title as the UK's best-selling album of 1997 with 1.47 million units sold. Be Here Now also marks the last Oasis record to feature founding members Paul Bonehead Arthurs and Paul Gussie McGinnis. Anyway, I hope you know who they before the departures in 1999. In 2021, Don Everly of the Everly Brothers died at age 84. The duo would also feature Don's brother Phil, rose to fame in the late 50s with hits like Bye Bye Love and All I Have to Do Is Dream. Oh, let's hop on our Magic Fan and go to facts so we can find some factoids. Today is Poets' Day as well as Senior Citizens Day. In 2022, the Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon, premiered on HBO. House of the Dragon is set nearly 200 years before the events of the Game of Thrones. In 2015, a 108-year-old message in a bottle washed up on a beach in Amrum, Germany. The bottle was one of around 1,000 released in the UK as part of an experiment run by Marine Biological Association of the UK. So I don't think it was actually 108 years old. Anywho, in 2007, BioShock, the first-person shooter game, was released on Xbox 360 and PC. The last few months of development were rough. The playtesters had no idea of what was happening. To give players more clarity, the development team added cutscenes at the beginning of the game that showed the player's aircraft crashing into the sea. The tactic was inspired by the first episode of Lost. In 1969, Donald and Doris Fisher opened the first Gap store in San Francisco, California. Men's Levi jeans and record tapes were the only items sold there. It's time to hop on our magic van, put on our thinking caps, because it's time for trivia. 1. First question. What is the capital of Switzerland? Answer, Bern. 2. Which country has the longest coastline? Canada. 3. What did Queen Anne die from? Answer, a stroke. Bonus question. What's the capital of Iceland? Answer, Reykjavik. Now let's take off our thinking caps and put on our party hats, because it's time for birthdays. 1904, Count Basie. 1938, Kenny Rogers. 1944, Jack DeShannon. 1952, Joe Strummer. 1957, Budgie. 1957, Kim Sledge. 1967, Serge Tankian. And 1979, Kellis. You can catch us here. If it was your birthday today, happy birthday to you too. If it's your birthday this weekend, have a great one. If you want to hear me shout out your name during birthdays, throw it in the comments. I hope you have a great one again, and stay safe. You can catch us here 7 days a week with Brian the Rockstone on WCDI, and don't forget to check out Top Report every Sunday and Wednesday. See you later, guys. Ciao.